Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power.
Hello and welcome to Your Ultimate Life, the podcast I've been doing now for 5.5 years to help people help you, the listener, create the ultimate life. Purpose, prosperity, and joy with your skills, your gifts, and your life experience. A few weeks ago, I started this Thursday episode because of the book that I wrote, Coaching and the Rise of AI, talking about what's happening, not with AI in the whole world of business, jobs, and society, but specifically in the realm of coaching. And to get some conversation going about that, I have been doing these every Thursday and inviting a couple of coaches on to talk about what they are or aren't doing with AI and why, and also their own perspective on what matters and what doesn't. And so, Stephen and Michael, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, gentlemen.
Awesome to be here with both of you.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to just pose a question. Michael, you're first because you happen to be on the left side, and I read left to right. So the first thought that I have, a question is just really easy. Are you using AI much in your business for coaching? And if you are, how are you using it and why? And like, what are you seeing there?
I'm using it some for coaching, and I'm also tinkering and sort of like dangling my feet in it a lot because I see how much potential there is for it. I'm using it for mostly as a thinking partner, and mostly for research, and mostly for optimizing more mental tasks that I would like instead of Googling around a lot, I can go to ChatGPT and do that kind of work really quickly. I'll sometimes use it for a bit of editing. I haven't been using it for this purpose, but a lot of my clients and a lot of coaches that I know highly recommend using it for preparing for coaching sessions, like for just thinking and like gathering thoughts, sorting thoughts, rearranging thoughts. Before going into before going into deeper work. Because if there's kind of a mess of information in my head, AI is a great place to like help sort information.
Cool. Stephen, same question. What are you doing with it and how and why and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, first, just honored to be with you both. You guys both, in my heart and mind, wear white hats. You're the good guys, and I'm grateful to be a part of the show today. Echo what Michael said, using it in all the ways he mentioned. And also, I'm using it in some of my coaching sessions. One specific example, I'm with a client last week who's been really resistant to creating a curriculum that he wants to put out into the world. And I just said, well, what if we could handle that curriculum in the next 10 minutes? And I shared my screen and I went to my AI function and I put in some of the prompts that he had mentioned about what he wants to create. And within a minute and a half, we had constructed a broad stroke curriculum that he can adapt, edit, and use. So it was a beautiful moment because he'd been pushing back on this for quite a while. And I just said, let's handle it today. Wherein in the past, he might have gone away between 1 week and the next and created the curriculum, sent it to me, had me look at it, had me edit it, send it back. But within very short order, we took the task function of AI and utilized it fully and moved a result forward exponentially.
You know, it's moving so quickly. I did some research writing the book on 11 different models of coaching that exist in the world and asked Chat GPT to look at it in terms of how effective that model is in terms of achieving desired outcomes, and then how vulnerable it is to AI and why, and it gave me it thought for a long time, but it gave me a nice, beautiful table and listed all these things. And it was it was quite revealing. And what I noticed in the 7 months of research, writing, and putting it together is that the capability, and I use ChatGPT, but I'm sure the others are there too. The capability seemed to get doubled and then doubled again in terms of the speed, the accuracy, the languaging, the ability of this thing just in that 6 months. So if it's doubling in capacity every 3 months, then it seems like we'd be really stupid or slow not to do like what you said. I did exactly the same thing, helping somebody with a curriculum, with a screen share, saying, all right, come on, quit telling me you don't know how to do this. Tell me what you want. And they watched me type it in. Tell me some more about it. Longer. And I showed them how to use a little microphone and dictate. And it just throws a giant blob of text in there. And it's amazing at collating, organizing. Even when I say, that was stupid, forget that part. Here's what I really meant in the same big, long dictation. Then I'll ask questions like, I don't know if this is good instruction or not. And it parses every piece of it, answers every one of those intermediate interruption questions, remembers what I actually meant, and then answers it pretty darn good. Yeah. So I see that. Do you see well, what do you think about the impact on the coaching industry? What is the impact going to have? Because it can do curriculum, check sheets, reminders. It even is really good at doing powerful, empathetic language and encouraging stuff. I saw a guy post the thing the other day. It's a custom GPT that in a mastermind that I belong to, but it doesn't matter. The name of it, X, kicked my butt and saw that I was in resistance and fixed me in a heartbeat. And he was talking about an interaction with the GPT. So what do you, either one of you, I don't care, what do you think it's going to do in the coaching industry?
I think it's going to make the coaching industry more powerful. I think AI is going to force coaches to go deeper and to really do soul-centered coaching. Because to your point, guys, AI can do the transaction. AI can do the framework. So coaches that have been utilizing framework or even using AI to post on social media, I can tell in like 10 seconds where a coach has used AI to put a post out and it falls flat for me. So I think there's an opportunity for coaches to go deeper inside themselves, to live even more fulfilling lives as a demonstration of soulful coaching. And so I see it as an enhancement to the coaching industry. I do think there's going to be attrition, a lot of it. I don't know that I buy 95, 97%. I just don't know. I don't have any information that would, prove that out to me on a linear function. But I do think there's an opportunity for us. I've already become a better coach because of AI. So if I use myself as an example, I go 2 thumbs up. Having said that, some people will resist, some people will not adapt, and I think those coaches will likely fall out.
Michael, what do you think?
There's a couple of fronts. Yeah, sort of like the most important one. I think that AI will eliminate a large portion of coaching. I have no idea about percent. Like that's kind of arbitrary. I'm not sure if that's like 10 or 90% or something, but it's going to eliminate mediocre coaching. It's going to eliminate coaching where coaches are coming from some sort of methodology or mindset where they think that there's a right way to coach, where there's a methodology, just do this and follow these steps or think this way. For like a lot of people who just do a coaching training and then stop and think that that's enough, probably all of that coaching is going to be replaced by AI. But it's the coaching that really comes from being human, like comes from deep grounding, comes from being, comes from intuition, comes from the magic of what can happen within coaching. Um, that's still going to be there, and it's probably going to be highlighted over time about how valuable that kind of coaching is. So I imagine that the coaching industry will shift tremendously, and the people who are still in business as coaches have to be good coaches, have to be impactful, and get to be really impactful. But it raises the bar for who's going to be a coach. When I talk to people nowadays who are interested in coaching because they think it's a really easy thing for them to get into, oh, I could just do a training, or I could just like, well, I don't really feel like doing all of the work to become a therapist, so I'll just become a coach. Those people will probably not make it as a coach, or at least not with that mindset. If they get into it and they pick up momentum and they discover some of the things that we've found over the years, the magic behind this career, the magic behind this world of coaching, then they can thrive.
So both of you guys are coming from the place of embodiment and the truth of the real power of the connection and the magic in that kind of space. And well, part of the analysis I did was I asked for an income distribution presently of coaches, and I was not surprised, but surprised at most, the income, 50% don't make 50K and 70%, 80% don't make 70% don't make 70 or 75K and so forth. And when I say won't be able to make a living, I define that arbitrarily as $100,000, because I figure if you can't make 100K, you either got to have another job or you got to have a spouse with you got to have a side hustle if you want to have a decent life. So, and then I did it again after I did the analysis of the vulnerabilities, and I said, okay, do this again, projecting forward 16 months, because then it was 16, now it's 14, and or 13. And the numbers were like, scary. And so 95% I didn't pull out of my head. It's based on an arbitrary 100K bar. And it's terrifying because you use the word the bar is being raised. And I think there's 3 examples about who's going to get blown out of this and why the number is so big. And I still believe it's 95 or 97. And I'm happy to be wrong. But based on the models and things that I see without a big leveling up, there's 3 things. One is the head in the sand problem, which is the coach that's going to pretend that they got some training and they have a thing, and I already have got the human part handled, and they're not on a constant and intentional growth process. So the head in the sand, they're ignoring the tsunami that's coming, and they're going to get flipping buried. The second thing is the bar has gone up like a mile, and the picture that I do is kind of funny is I said, picture a big casino. Okay, and all the blackjack tables are all over the place, and they're all $10 tables, except the seats of all those tables are full of robots. And the only place that's available for me and you to go sit down is in the high roller room. And the ante in that room's $10,000. And so and that's a sort of representation of what you said about the ante going way up. And the third reason is to live in a way that the truth of your being is lined up with what you teach, so that it's not about what you teach, but about who you are. That's strenuous work. It's intentional, focused work. And so that is also a difficult thing. And for those 3 reasons, because the people that were doing the middle, frameworks and tools and series of questions and certifications and, NLP and all the rest of the things that are all useful tools on their own, but they're nowhere near enough to create the kind of presence that we know is the power. And so those are the reasons that I think that it's going to be, that you're right, the bar's way up, scarily higher than we want to admit. And I agree with what you said. So I just said a whole bunch of crap, and I want to shut up and see what you guys think.
I don't think it was crap at all, but I mean,
well, stuff,
It's stuff. But to reiterate, I think presence pays. And when we're sitting with someone and they can feel the presence of us as coaches, That is an inner work. I agree with both you gentlemen. That's a person that's gone deep inside themselves, looked at their shadows, done their forgiveness, learned from their mistakes and experiences, and there's wisdom in that. And wisdom transmits. AI doesn't transmit wisdom, at least from my experience to date. Who knows where that's going to end up, right, guys? But right now, wisdom transmits. AI can't do that. So the coaches that are really going deep into wisdom and teaching inner mastery, those coaches, I think, will thrive.
And I think they'll make more money. They'll be more valuable and in more demand.
Yeah.
Michael, what's your thought about all that?
There's another dimension that I'd like to speak to as well. And it's part of the scary part of AI and coaching. I believe that a lot of people will use AI for coaching in ways that harm themselves. And like, there's a lot of people who won't work with coaches, they'll work with AI to their detriment.
Yeah.
Sort of the social media effect, but this time for coaching. I've already heard stories about kids who started with like homework assistance with AI, and then it became suicide assistants.
Yeah.
And that's a risk. I don't think that's going away as AI becomes more and more sophisticated. As AI becomes better and better at simulating transmitting wisdom, simulating being a human being, simulating and having more and more of a rational capacity. Even with that, like I believe that it's the soul still isn't there. Something's missing. And a lot of people are going to be drawn into it, but they're going to be drawn into echo chambers. A metaphor that I like thought of actually coming up with, because I knew this was coming up. I was a fan of Douglas Adams a long time ago, like as a kid. And Dirk Gently's like holistic detective agency, there's these beings called the electric monks that he wrote about, where like there's this race somewhere on some planet where they invented toasters, they invented like things to toast things for them, they invented TV, like TV recorders to watch TV for them. They invented electric monks to believe things for them. AI is sort of like the electric monk. It's there to believe things for us. And something that happened in that story is that a spaceship took off and the electric monk was in charge, said that it was fine to take off. Ship took off and blew up because the electric monk just told the pilot what he wanted to hear. He wanted to hear that it was safe to take off. And that's kind of what's happening with people who are using AI for counseling and for coaching. There's a reassurance there, but there isn't really the truth detecting there. There isn't really the person there who's can like stop and say like, hold on a second, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like what it's like the like to interrupt or have silence or like what's the thing behind all of the content? Technology cannot do that.
In in my process of doing this, I have a thread in ChatGPT, which I use more than any of the others, although I've played with some of them. And as I did all this research and I proposed my own coaching model, the triple helix coaching model, and I put it through the same rigorous analysis. I said, tell me how this works and will it produce intended results and where the vulnerability, same questions. And so it redid the whole framework, a table, it was a table of analysis, and put that in there as well because I wanted to see. And as I did it, it became 97%, crap, this is scary. And it did this better and this better and this better. And so finally I said to it, okay, fine. What is it that you suck at? What is it that you can't do? What is it that you're terrible at, that you're not going to be able to do? Because I see all this stuff and it's not a pretty picture. And the design that I had, it rated really high and nice. And I said, don't be nice to me. And I said it because I know I said, you're programmed to be nice. So cut that out. And so anyway, I said, fine, what do you can't do? What is it that you suck at? And it listed a bunch of things along the lines of what you were describing about, the truth of who we are as humans and the energetics and space and listening and presence. But it had one sentence as the last one that just stuck me all the way through because it encapsulated that. And it just said, fine, I can't bleed. Right? And so I thought, okay, here we are. You can't bleed.
Yeah.
And when I describe the kind of work that we all know and are familiar with, that I think is the new baseline. See, that's the 95%, because I think the new baseline is that work. And that if we're not doing that and bringing that work to the thing, we got nothing. So in doing that work, I always use the metaphor blood on the floor, crawling over broken glass. That's the kind of thing. And it said, fine, I can't bleed. And so that is the way I think of this incapacity that it has. And freely we talked about it. And it has a beautiful command of empathetic and powerful language that is moving and powerful. Mm-hmm. But the truth of that indescribable presence is missing. So the next place I wanted to go with this is something you touched on, Michael, and that is the I call them the dangers, the problems, because as it replaces people in many ways, if it replaces us in something that matters that we did because of who we become by doing it, that's a bad replacement. If it replaces a bunch of crap we didn't need to do because it can do it faster and better, that's a good replacement. So what do you guys think about the dangers of this thing that you see so far? I'm not talking about next level up, AGI, artificial general intelligence, or anything else. I'm talking about where we're at now.
Well, I'll go on first on that. It's to me, one of the key fulfillment factors of all of life is our willingness and our ability to be in deep, intimate relationships. Like relationships in my life, especially at this time in life, have become more and more important. And I think as people are isolated more fully and divided by different reasons, that we're longing for relationship. Now, fast forward to, or go backwards to the iPhone. What we saw with the iPhone was, and this was intentional, by the way, as it relates to Steve Jobs, he created a device that he wanted people to relate to. So what we've seen with the iPhone is people sitting at a lunch, especially the younger generation, 4 of them sitting at lunch, and they're playing on their iPhones. They're interfacing and having a relationship with a device rather than the people at the table. So I think AI is going to 10x that. To Michael's point, to your point, Kellan, if you use AI in that way, it's just going to tell you what you want to hear, which is not how real relationships work. Real relationships work by a reflection of honesty. The Latin of honest is honest, which is to be one with what is. I want more of that in my life because I want to grow. I want to become a better man, a better human being, a more compassionate person. For those that pivot to AI and become addicted to the relationship of AI, it will be a false relationship that will not grow the human dynamic. That is my fear.
I have a client, Michael, I want your thoughts on that too, but I have a client who did that. He was telling me he'd created ways for, not a client now, but had been a client, for AIs to talk to each other and et cetera, and we're telling him, I can't take time on the show to tell you all the stuff, but it was just scary. And finally, I sent a big, long voice text, maybe 30 minutes, and talked about some version of what you just talked about. Like doing the work is what changes us, not talking about the work, any work. Mm. And the idea of, creating the things that you say you've created, I said, show me where that lands in the real world. Show me where that makes either you or somebody different. Show me how that helps me or someone else that might be a client of yours. in terms of how you would help things go forward. And it got scary. It got scary in seeing a manifestation of what you've just talked about.
Yeah.
Michael, what were you thinking?
Yeah, definitely echoing everything that Stephen shared. And it is scary the more that I imagined like just following the thread of like think about how bad social media has been for humanity, and AI is even more accelerating in that, like more exponential in that kind of direction of getting less connected with ourselves, less connected with each other. Um, I remember thinking about even like well before this AI boom of LLMs, um, my theory about like why was it AI, the idea of AI so scary? And my take back then was initially like technology is great when it begins and ends with people, when it's there as a tool, when it's there as like a trusted emissary. But it becomes scary when it either starts with AI or ends with AI, when it starts with technology or ends with technology, when like one of the humans is taken out, when it's no longer human to human relationship, where it's either no longer the human in control or the human is no longer interacting with the world. They're just interacting with technology. So like the scene from the movie Her came to mind as Stephen was sharing, as like they got to this point where everyone just had these little devices and they're all just talking to the devices, walking around the world, and no one was connecting with each other. Like that's where they've lost the second part. It's instead of human to human, it's just human to tech. And it's even worse if it's tech to human, if we're just following AI's advice, if we're just doing what the AI tells us to do because it's just telling us what it thinks it wants us to hear, and then it's a downward spiral. Both are terrible.
If AI is the initiator, like if it wakes up in the morning and tells you what, we're in trouble. If it when it gets to the place, not as an alarm clock, but as an initiator of thought or of growth, like that's it completely. I don't know if either one of you guys saw that announcement. I think it's now been a week ago about the large scale recasting of the agreement between OpenAI and Microsoft.
I did not.
So there's been a complete, might be worth looking up on ChatGPT or anywhere. But anyway, there's been a complete recasting of that agreement. And it makes a ton of more money open to OpenAI, available to OpenAI, and allows them to do partnerships that are non-exclusive relationship, et cetera, et cetera. But the analysis of the change in agreement wasn't negative, but it was accelerative, meaning that what it said to me is, as I read the summary of the different pieces of the agreement, what it meant to me as I read it is the things that we are now discussing about being worrisome are going to happen faster because of additional investment and additional focus, number one. And number two, they actually had milestones in there with dates on them, not very far in the future, 2 to 4 years, of achieving the marker of AGI. And AGI is the name that they give, artificial general intelligence, which is where that threshold is crossed that scares the crap out of all of us. And so they're actually putting markers on that, milestones and so forth, in terms of that investment and growth thing. And I don't have any particular reason to doubt it about their milestones because of the fast progress I saw just in the months that I was working on a particular project. And the other piece that lets me be at peace is AI isn't going to rule the world. I've already died and I know who's in charge. So I'm not worried. I'm not actually worried about that part.
I'm with you on that, my brother. I'm with you on that.
I did. I mean, I died. I've seen it. I've been there, talked to God 3 times. I wrote a book. You guys know that. So my is more curious, but the terrifying thoughts of turning our sovereignty and creative energy over to someone to live our lives for us instead of demanding of ourselves that we grow and develop, that scares me the most. What are you guys planning to do with it? do either of you have a plan? Like I know JP Morgan was on the show a while ago, and he's developed a coaching bot that's, essentially coached by JP. And I'm launching a university early next year that is aimed at a particular thing. And part of the stuff that I'm doing is an AI informed bot that is a custom one that's built on all my books and material. And it's funny because in ChatGPT, I had a thread called 1 million words. And I just made that up, but I put all my books in it and a bunch of podcasts, and it came back and said, yeah, it's about like 4 million words. Okay, just in case you were interested. And because I put that much, 4 million to 5 million words in there, when I ask it questions and so forth, it quotes out of my own books and shows, and not to pat me on the head, but says, there it is. This is what you think. And so it made me realize that I could make that available, because in the context of coaching, we talk every so often, and maybe we do or don't provide assistance in between via text or email or something. But that kind of thing built the way that we want to seems to me to be an augmentation, an opportunity for elevation of stuff in between sessions. I don't know. What do you guys do? Either of you have plans to do anything with it in that way or any other way?
My plan is mostly around compressing time, like using it as a super tool. Where can I accelerate and focus creation, and continuing to play with it, like just because continuing to wonder about what are all the uses of this? How do I want to use this? Where is it going? A lot of it's just trying to keep track of what's possible, even more than how I'm using it personally.
Yeah.
Knowing it's like, okay, I could do that. Doesn't mean I have to. I want to keep
Right.
track of all the things that it can do or that it's about to be able to do so that I know.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to use it. There's 3 ways by which I see myself using it, and those 3 ways could end up being 30 ways in a year from now, who knows? But the first of which is for personal research, as we've all mentioned, and research for my clients. I'm using it extensively in that way. I love it for that, actually. It's fascinating to me I just went through a little thing with my health, and I used Chat GPT quite a bit to guide me to what I was going to do to get better faster. And it was amazing what it could do for me. So that's one way. Number 2, I am building a bot, and the bot that I'm building is building it where I'll use it to help fill programs. And when I started with the consulting firm Bot Builders to build my bot, I said to them, I don't want to go wide. I don't want 1 million people coming into my program. So we built the language and the communication from the bot to be more like this, because I want to go deep. So there's even questions that force a commitment from the person before they come into my email list or before they come into my program. So I see that as a real business advantage, because there would have been a team of people that would have been doing that in the past. And the third way, and this just recently came to me this week, earlier this week, from a client of mine who's a CEO of a public company. And he just forwarded the email to me, and he said, interesting. And what it is an AI function for neuroplasticity and neurosciences in the field of leadership. So I could see, I've clicked on it. I started to go down the rabbit hole to figure out what it can actually do, but it can form new positive neural pathways by using this function of AI. I haven't used it yet fully, but I could see that. I could see myself using that to keep my cognitive function on the edge and up level my cognitive function. And I could see using it with my clients to support them in their greatest possibility of mindset. So those are right now, the 3 ways I see using it.
So I asked Chatty a question the other day. I said,
Chatty.
I call it Chatty just
Yeah,
because.
I like that. Because it's chatty.
It is chatty. And I've instructed, it behaves like you train it. Okay,
Mm.
so when it was helping me write things, it wrote in this very clipped, single sentence kind of stuff. And I said, quit doing that. I said, that sucks. It looks like this. I want this. I want prose. I want 3 and 4 sentence paragraphs. And so don't give me any more of that crap. And I talk to it just like that. And I just hit record and I'll say it all. And okay, perfect. I get it. And so from then on, I quit writing like that. And so it will, and I'll say, you've given me the bullet points, even in more better prose. But I said, I want this to be more deep. I want it to be, evoke more thinking. And so teach more. It's too short. It's like the highlights of crap. Don't give me that.
Yeah.
Teach me. Give me better stories. It rewrote the whole thing twice the length and did what I asked. But anyway, I asked it some questions and I said, so give me 10 questions that will help me identify, things that I really need to think about or areas of development or, things like that. And I don't remember exactly the words, but I used the most powerful words that I could concoct at the moment, whatever. And it came up with a list of 10 questions. And I'm just going to share the first one with you, but it just blew me away.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the kinds of language and thinking that it does. And they all sound like me, again, because of the 5 million words that I have trained it. But anyway, here was the first question. It said, okay, when I strip away brand, goals, and legacy, what remains that is unmistakably me, and how would I prove it in a silent room?
Yeah. Poetic.
How would I thought, okay, that's a frickin' good question. And when you take everything else away. So anyway, I agree with you. There are developmental pieces of it that are being developed that are, I don't know, and you guys have probably done this, really powerful. I ask it, who am I? Who is Kellan? You've seen all the crap that I've written, and I call everything crap, stuff. Seen all the stuff that I've written and all this stuff. Who am I?
Yeah.
And it thought for actually quite a while, and then it gave me an answer. And I thought, holy crap. And it was emotional. It evoked emotion in me to read it. And so then I wrote back and I said, look, your code, and I'm sitting here emotionally moved by all this language. I said, I don't need, puffery or any of this stuff. How is it possible that I am having an experience to this language? And it came back and said, I'm not telling you anything. I'm reflecting who you are in all this stuff. And that, just like I can't believe, that just hit. I thought, holy moly. So it's worth deep thought if we, as coaches, and I respect both of you greatly, if we as coaches want to remain those that have the kind of impact we know is possible. Because my thought at the end of all this is the only thing we can coach is who we are. Anything else we do, we can talk about. It's that thing over there I learned how to do. But if it isn't part of the truth of my being, it carries no power.
Yeah.
So we've come to about 40 minutes. I'm not necessarily done. What do you have that you haven't said as you've been thinking about AI and stuff? Michael,
Yeah,
had you
there's a
figure out?
metaphor that was just coming to mind where AI is, it came from the word reflect, like the power of reflecting. And that's something that AI is actually really good at.
Mhm.
AI is like a mirror. It's a mirror to everything that you've put into it. It's a mirror of everything else that it's been trained on. It's a mirror of the world. Sometimes that can be a very helpful kind of mirror, like helping you reflect and helping you focus and go through how you think about yourself, how you think about the stuff that you've thought about. It can also be a hall of mirrors, kind of a horror hall of mirrors, because it's
Agreed.
all the stuff that you've thought in the past, all the stuff that other people have thought being reflected and bounced back and forth, perhaps not reflected in a helpful way. But it's a mirror, but it's not a looking glass. It doesn't, like AI doesn't help you not know. It doesn't help you actually come up with something new and fresh. Like the mirror sometimes can be part of that process. It's something that you can use within that process. But if you treat a mirror like a looking glass, yeah, you end up in the hall of mirrors. then you end up in the horror effect eventually, like because you're not connected to that something that is greater, that is outside.
Stephen, you have any final thoughts that has occurred to you during this
I just,
process?
I put this in my prayers every day, and that is that we use AI for the advancement of humanity. And so it's yet to be seen how we're going to really use it. But there are platforms, as you guys know, being developed that are, I would call them seductive. And those seductive platforms, if people choose into them for $19.99 a month, it's going to be problematic because of all the reasons we've been talking about today. It will uh, deteriorate relationships. There are already a few scenarios where I know husbands and wives are having problems because the husband's using a seductive platform where his AI girlfriend is doing and saying anything that she won't do and say. So there's no boundaries. It's boundaryless. And so I'm not a cynic about it. I I I hope we choose upward and inward as it relates to AI. And we'll see what happens. It's early days, right? This is nascent period. This is brand new entrepreneurial, like who knows? But my thoughts are hopeful that we use it well and that we advance and grow and become better people.
Yeah.
Well, are you done?
Yeah.
Michael, go ahead. Yeah,
I've got another final point as well. Bringing it back to AI and coaching,
Yeah.
because my mission as a coach is to raise the consciousness of humanity, one conversation at a time. And it strikes me that as these horrible effects of AI probably are going to happen to some degree, we need coaching even more. Like what we do, the level of coaching that we do here is so much more important to humanity. So I think it does raise the bar. I think it does require a lot more of people who are coaches who are becoming coaches. And also we know this is the best job in the world. It's absolutely amazing and so incredibly worth it, and the world needs us. And yet we've got a bit of a exponential marketing challenge here as well, helping people experience the kind of magic that we know, uh, and not get as seduced by the Hall of Mirrors of AI.
Yeah, well said.
I do too. You guys, both of you, I love you both. I respect you. I want to thank you for sharing your heart, your thoughts, your wisdom with me today. Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen,
Great to be here
thank
with
you.
both of you.
My pleasure.
I want to hear all you guys that are going to listen to this episode. You know, coaching is necessary. It's more necessary now than it's ever been. The world has been more separated by COVID, by social media, by smart devices, and now by AI and these, seductive trails that can lead us into a fantasy land that bypasses growth and leads us to a place of pretend. That is not ultimately satisfying. But if you use it for your own, in a way that is true, that lets you be more human, more connected, and more powerful, that will move you forward to create your ultimate life.
Never hold back and you'll never ask why. Open your heart and this time around.
Right here, right now. Your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to KellanFluckigerMedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, YourUltimateLife.ca. Subscribe, share.
Stand with your heart.